Hello, and welcome to Learn Biblical Hebrew with 119 Ministries. This video is part of a series that teaches you how to start reading the Hebrew language. We pray that this series blesses you in your study of the Word. If you would like to know more about what 119 Ministries believes and teaches, please visit us at testeverything.net. We hope you enjoy the following lesson. Welcome back to Learn Biblical Hebrew with 119 Ministries. This is Lesson 7. You can find a written summary of this lesson at the link in the description below. We've learned all of the letters now, so let's recite them together. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Pe, Tzadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, and Tav. Now, let's review all the vowels that we've learned. Kamatz and Patach make the sound A. Cholam has two forms, both make the sound O. Tsera makes the sound A, Segel makes the sound E, and Chiruk makes the sound I. Here is a new vowel. This vowel is called schwa. It is written as two dots, one on top of the other. The schwa is written underneath of a letter. The schwa makes no sound. Here is a word that uses the schwa. It starts with mem, a chiruk under the mem, tzadi, shva under the tzadi, vav with a kametz, and a he at the end. Let's pronounce this word. The mem is pronounced ma, chiruk is I, tzadi is tsa, so our first syllable is mitz. Then we have a shva, which makes no sound. Finally, the vav with a kametz would be pronounced va, and the he on the end is silent. So our first syllable would be mitz, and the second syllable va. Altogether, this is pronounced mitzvah, mitzvah. Mitzvah means commandment. Here is our next vowel. This is the kubbutz. The kubbutz is written as three dots in a sort of downward slope. The kubbutz is written underneath the letter. Kubbutz makes the sound as in put or foot. Kubbutz is by far the least common vowel in Hebrew, so you will not encounter this vowel very often. Here is one of the more common words that uses the kubbutz. This is a shin with a kubbutz underneath. After that is a lamed with a shva underneath, then a chet with a kamatz underneath, and at the end is a final nun. Let's pronounce this word. The shin has the dot over the right side, so it is pronounced like sh, sh. The kubbutz makes the short u sound, lamed makes la, and shva is silent. So our first syllable is shul. After the lamed and shva comes a chet, which makes the sound ch. Under that is a kametz, which makes the sound a. And the nun at the end makes the sound n. So our second syllable is chan. Altogether, this is pronounced shulchan. Shulchan. Shulchan means table. And just to be clear, this is a table that has 4 legs and you set things on, not a table like a table of contents. Next, we're going to learn a set of 3 vowels called the Khattaf vowels. This is the first one. It is called Khattaf segol. Khattaf segol is written underneath a letter, and you can see that it looks like a regular segol, but with a schwa right next to it. The reason it looks like that is because that's exactly what it is. It makes the exact same sound as a regular segol, which is the sound as in the word wet. Again, I'm not going to explain why this vowel exists right now. Just remember that segol and Khattaf segol make the exact same sound. The next Khattaf vowel is Khattaf kamatz, which, again, looks like a kamatz with a schwa next to it, and makes the exact same sound as the kamatz, which is ah. And the last Khattaf vowel is Khattaf patach, which looks like a patach with a schwa next to it, and as you may have guessed, makes the exact same sound as a regular patach. In just a moment, we're going to use a Khattaf vowel, but first we need to learn one more thing. Here we have an example of a diphthong. What is a diphthong? A diphthong is a sound that is a combination of 2 other sounds. In this case, we have a shuruk vowel, and then after that shuruk vowel, we have a yod. Normally, a shuruk makes the sound I, and the yod makes the sound y. But when these 2 sounds are combined together, they make the sound e. E as in feet. What is happening here is that the I of the shuruk is combining with the y of the yod, and when you sort of smash these 2 sounds together, it comes out as e. There are a number of Hebrew diphthongs, but this one, shuruk followed by yod, is the most important one to know. It is also important to remember that this combining of sounds only happens when the yod comes after the shuruk. If the yod comes first, then the yod and the shuruk both sound normal. But when the yod comes after the shuruk, then the 2 sounds will combine to make this long E sound. Here is our next word. We have an aleph, and underneath the aleph is a Khattaf segol. Next, we have a lamed, and next to the lamed, at the top, we can see a cholam vowel. After that is a hey. Under the hey is a shuruk vowel. After that is a yod. And at the end, there is a final mem. This is our longest word yet, so to pronounce it, let's break it down 1 syllable at a time. First, we have an aleph, which is silent, and then a Khattaf segol, which makes So our first syllable is Next, we have a lamed, which makes l, and a cholam, which makes the sound o. So our second syllable is lo. Next, we have the hey, which makes the sound h, and under the hey is a shuruk. Normally, shuruk makes the sound I, as in big, but right after the shuruk, we have a yod. The shuruk followed by the yod makes our diphthong sound e. So the hey plus the e makes he, and then our final mem at the end makes ma. Putting this all together, we get Elohim. Elohim. Elohim means God. It's important to note that Elohim is not a name, so it doesn't have to refer to a specific God. In the scriptures, the word Elohim usually refers to the God of Israel, but it is also sometimes used to refer to pagan gods. So Elohim means God in a sort of generic sense. It doesn't have to refer to the creator of the universe. Here we have our last vowel sound. This is a shuruk. It is a vav with a dot in the middle. This dot is not a dagesh. When you see a dot in the middle of a vav, it means that this is a shuruk vowel. Just like the cholam, when there is a shuruk vowel, the vav will lose its v sound, and the only sound that is left is the sound of the vowel. The sound that shuruk makes is oo, as in the word moon. Finally, we have a very specific circumstance where you break the normal rules of pronunciation. So normally, when there is a letter and a vowel underneath that letter, you will pronounce the sound of the letter first, and then the sound of the vowel. However, in one very specific circumstance, you will pronounce the vowel first. This is that specific circumstance. So, if there is a letter chet, and it is the last letter in a word, only when it is the last letter, and there is a patach underneath the chet, and it has to be a patach, no other vowel. If all three of those conditions are met, then you will pronounce the patach before the chet. So instead of pronouncing this cha, you will pronounce it as ach. This is the one and only time where you will do this. Here is a word that you can use to remember this rule. This word starts with resh. After that is a vav with a shuruk vowel. And then we have a chet with a patach underneath of it at the end. So let's pronounce this word. Resh makes r. Vav with the shuruk vowel is u. And then we have our special case here, a chet at the very end of a word with a patach underneath of it. So normally, one would think that we would pronounce this ruach, but because of the special rule we just mentioned, we pronounce the patach first. So instead, this becomes ruach. Ruach means wind, like a gust of wind or a breeze. It can also be translated spirit. By spirit, I don't mean an alcoholic beverage, but spirit as in an invisible force. Here are three more words, just to round out our vocabulary. This one is spelled aleph mem, with a tzera under the aleph. This word is pronounced aim. Aim means mother. This word is spelled beit, nun, with a tzera under the beit. The beit has a dagesh, so it is pronounced ba. Tzera is a, and nun is n. Altogether, this is pronounced bain. Bain means sun. This is not the sun that is in the sky, but son, S-O-N, meaning a male child. Finally, we have this word, beit tav, with a kubbutz under the beit. Again, this beit has a dagesh, so it is pronounced ba. Kubbutz is a, and tav is t. Altogether, this is pronounced bat. Bat means daughter. Let's do a quick review of all the words that we've learned in the last 7 lessons. On the right, we have kain, which means yes. Next to that, we have lo, which means no. Here we have a set of words for family members. At the top, working from right to left, we have av, which means father, em, which means mother, and ach, which means brother. In the bottom row, starting on the right, achot means sister, bain means son, and bat means daughter. Here are some words for body parts. Again, at the top right, we have rosh, which means head, followed by yad, which means hand. In the bottom row, peh means mouth, and ayin means eye. Here we have some words describing the outdoors. First we have eretz, which means land, then shamayim, which means sky. In the bottom row, mayim means water, and ruach means wind. The rest of the words don't fall into any particular category, but here they are. Starting at the top, Elohim means God. After that, Tov means good. Next we have Melech, which means king. In the bottom row, Lechem means bread, Shulchan means table, and mitzvah means commandment. This concludes our material on the alphabet and vowel sounds. I strongly encourage you to review this material and become thoroughly familiar with it before moving on to the next set of lessons. In particular, it's most important to be able to tell the letters apart from each other, to know what sound each letter makes, and to know the sounds of all of the vowels. Next up, we're going to start putting sentences together, and it won't be long at all before we get to read our first Bible verse in Hebrew. As usual, you can find the exercises for this lesson at the link in the description below. I look forward to seeing you next time when we can start putting all these letters and words to good use. Shalom.
It is because of you, our generous supporters, who make it possible to offer these high-quality teachings completely free of charge. If you feel led to support 119 Ministries so that we can continue this effort, please visit testeverything.net and click on the Support 119 tab. Learn how you can partner with us to take the whole Word of God to the nations.